We already have 25 participants. I think the rest will be joining us as we go by. So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Hilda Njeru from Sentinel Africa. Welcome to our today's webinar, which is the digital maturity in Africa. So I'm going to have a quick housekeeping rules with us here. So I'll introduce our host. We have Musa Wesutsa. He's the CEO and co-founder of Sentinel Africa. And also we have Mohamed Farouk from Exilydia. And so just to let you know, this session is going to be recorded, and then a link also will be shared with you much later after the session. And just so you know, we also have it live on Facebook. A link again will be shared for you guys to have a look at it later on as we progress. So we'd like to hear from each and every person of you. So below here on your screen, there's a Q&A chat box. So you can quickly drop a chat, a question, let us know what you think about the session, what may be your opinion, and a comment. And also if you have any question on it, then just on the session, just drop a question and then we'll be able to address it as we go by. Okay, so let us just go straight into the profile of our speakers today. So I have mentioned we have our CEO of Sentinel Africa. He's called Musa Wesutsa. At the moment he's the Chief Information Security Officer in a Kenyan bank. He has vast experience when it comes to information security. He has previously worked with Safaricom and also Mumias, and he has championed a couple of things a couple of projects when it comes to information security and also business continuity. With him, he comes with quite a range of qualifications. He's an ISO 27001 master, and he's also a CISA holder, CISM and CISSP. He does a couple of international speaking and also training with BSI and also PECB. And the other speaker that we have with us today, we have Mohamed Farouk. He's the co-founder of Exilydia. He has specialized in digital transformation and also strategy and governance and business performing. He using the artificial intelligence. So for the past 20 years or so, Farouk has been helping individuals and groups to come up with strategies and planning and also addressing major issues within the risk and opportunities. So just as we all know, today's session, we are going to be addressing digital maturity in Africa. So maybe some of us would like to know what exactly this entails. So digital maturity is the ability of an organization, how they respond to the emerging digital issues within us. So without further ado, I think I'll pass it over to the speakers to take it over from here. And today's session is not going to be like any other session. It's going to be a very interactive session. It's a question and answer session. We shall be having discussions and then just drop a question if you have a question. So without further ado, I think I'll take it over to Musa and Mohamed to take it us off. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Hilda, for a kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. I believe it's good afternoon in Africa. So thank you very much for Musa for being a part of this webinar, and thank you everyone for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about digitization, and we all see digitization is being discussed every now and then, within every business, within every region. So I get to travel into different countries, and you get to see, you always talk about efficiency, you always talk about smart technology, you talk about digitization, you talk about innovation. So let's look at what is it like when it comes to Africa, and what is it like when we look at different regions, and how strongly are we there when it comes to the Africa as a continent. So I would start the question here with where are you and how about you? So we'll keep on going there, and and discussing it in detail. Musa, what do you think? Like, would you like to add a few lines before we get going?
Yeah, actually, this is a very important topic. Again, thank you very much for that introduction, Hilda. Thank you, Mohammed, for being with us today, and thank you all our participants for making time to attend. So, I think this is a very important topic when we talk about digitization, and especially right now. We have all been facing the issues of the pandemic, and it has happened globally. So all of us have this similar problem right now, and we're wondering how do we continue to serve our customers? How do we continue to also make sure that our employees are still, providing meaningful working hours without, exposing themselves to some of these health and safety issues? So we've all had to think about digital. So this all organizations or everybody right now is talking about a digital strategy. If people were already on a digital sort of trajectory, then they're thinking about how to, broaden that so that all the staff now start to get impacted by this. People who had not thought about it are really starting to think about how would they start to, get these organizations, processes, digitized so that they can still be able to provide the services in a manner that doesn't need everybody sitting in one room, everybody trying to punch numbers and so have you. So yes, definitely this is a key element right now. It's an issue that is topical, and also more than that, it's something that has been coming up more so in Africa. And yeah, I'm very happy that we're here, that we're talking about this. So yes, this is a very nice topic, Farouk.
Yeah, I would say completely agree with Musa here. So it's because I tell my team all the time, saying that okay, I get to travel to 10 countries in one day. I start with Dubai, then end up with the Malaysia. Having a next day call morning. So next morning day call over there. So it's been a beautiful time. Talking to people in different countries. Using Zooms and Teams. So it's amazing. So let's get on to the topic. Let's start with some interesting facts. So we've been operational for a while as an organization. So what we were thinking that, okay, where are you when it comes to digitization? So we started talking to our existing markets, and our existing clients. So when I say existing markets and clients, this includes let's say large government organizations, corporations. So we have studied in terms of digitization where exactly they stand. So when we had this exercise, and we are continuing to do this, as part of our business improvement and research and innovation projects, what we have seen is that we have seen consistent difference or significant differences between organizations who are going digital and who are not going digital. So there is a serious reason, why people why organizations who are opting to go digital doing well, and people who are not investing on digital are not doing well. Now this is the biggest example. We've been forced to move into the digital world. Even if you don't need to, you have to, so before that itself, there were companies who were very proactive and doing it. So we've been looking at them, and what we have seen is that we have seen 85% of our clients, they feel that okay, digital is key to the business. You may have the best of the best tools, you may have the best of the best services, and what they feel is that if they are very strong digitally, they've got a global market open for them. It is unlike the old days. You've got internet, where you can address the whole world. Let's say, like how we are working in Africa, sitting in England or sitting in Dubai, how we are working in Africa. It's pretty easy, relatively easy. And also, when we look at but even if they address or they agree the fact that digitization would add a lot of value to the business, only 25% of them have actually gone through the maturity levels, to the basic maturity level of the digitization. But it's good to see that the awareness is there, but they still have to take those decisions and say that like okay, I'm going to go ahead with the basic digitization. I'm going to automate my workflow. It's going to benefit me. Now, what do you see, Musa, when it comes to Africa as a market? As you're operational in Africa for a while and you've been operational in 10 countries. So what do
Yeah.
you see?
So actually, you're very right. So Sentinel Africa, being a risk management consultancy firm, we do quite a lot of work in Africa within the region. So most of our clients span across the eastern side of the continent. So we have clients all the way in the north from Somalia, Ethiopia, so coming down to Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. We have clients in Rwanda, Mozambique, yeah, going to the south. And so basically, when we have these kind of conversations, they tend to fall around the same kind of concepts. Even in the western part of Africa, where we talk about Ghana and Nigeria, mostly you will see that in the developing world, what's happening is you get people actually skipping, like a whole genre or a whole generation. So if you look at the life cycle of how people come into innovations. So at the first part you have are the innovators, and then you go to the early adopters, and then you go to early maturity, late maturity, and then finally you get to the laggards. So when you look at developing markets, people usually would tend to fall towards the early adopters, okay, and the early maturity phase. That's where people tend to be. And so you'll find that there's a lot of new ideas, new innovations, and you'll find that when they come to this part of the world where we're still developing markets, you find there's a very quick uptick. There's a very big appetite for people to actually take up some of these solutions, and you'll find that most of the driving force, or rather, what is giving this whole phenomenon some legs, is the fact that currently you'll find in this region, by and large, you have very good regulation that is now being rewritten. So in the developing world, you have a lot of change happening. So the change is also systemic. So you have systems, governments doing restructuring. You have laws being written. So these are the things, the environment that is enabling this to happen. Then you have a lot of entrepreneurship. So in the developing world, you have a lot of organizations that are being formed in somebody's house. So people have availability of fiber, availability of mobile connectivity. And this allows many entrepreneurs to actually take up these ideas that they have, and they start to push up, and they start to get something of themselves. So these are things that are happening within this area of the world that are really making us see a big appetite in terms of taking up this particular idea about digitization. But now the problem that comes in is when you look at organizations, we still have to have a structured way in which we adopt these new ideas. So that is where now the problem is. Where is the structure? Okay, so now that's where you come in and start saying, where are these management systems, where are these management standards that I can now use to show me how I can step by step adopt some of these concepts that we're talking about in terms of the digitalization and the digitization era. So Farouk, those are some of the things that I can basically just share with yourselves and share with the attendees in terms of what's happening in this particular area. And really the need then is not that people are not awake. It's not that people are not aware that there's this thing happening, but now people probably are more hungry to know about how is a safe way, especially for businesses and organizations and even government institutions. How is a safe way for me to be able to start to adopt this, and I can grow, and I know that I can mature, and I know that it can start to return an investment, to give me a return on the investment.
Oh, that's quite amazing. That's a lot of insightful thoughts, Musa. Like what you have explained so far. I completely agree with the fact that organizations, they always go with the best of the best tools, best of the best management systems in place. But what happens is that they've got a core business in one side, and they've got a beautiful list of files on the other side, which are the management, which never talks to your actual business. So when Musa and teams goes in for a consulting engagement, they're all active. The moment you go off, they keep it away, and the auditor comes in, they open it. So let's look at it later. So let's come back to it.
Yeah.
And Varghese and Jitin, can we post a question here?
Yes, 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 yes.
Hilda, would you like to go with it? Yeah.
Yes, so just to let the participants know, just you can quickly do the poll here and then submit, then we shall address this later. So as people are doing that, maybe Musa on to like popping a question to what you have just discussed about the maturity. So what would you think is the digital maturity within the within Africa as a region, like the matrix, yeah?
Yeah, so I think, so just going back to what I said, when you're looking at organizations, we probably are tending to we're skipping a whole generation. So you'll find that an organization has come from a point of where there was nothing that was being done, where it was basically depending on who is in the room. So depending on my experience, my own understanding of risk, then I shall implement something, or depending on my own appetite or my own view of the world, then I shall implement something. Then we move that to a point where now you have a standard way in which we can do this, but still really relying on the person who's in the room. Then slowly mature it into a consistent process. And then as you continue going, that's when I start to get something that is quantifiably measured. And then finally, we can get to something that is optimized. So in a sense, we'll find that as people jump onto that life cycle for innovation, you'll find that most people in Africa are actually in the early adopters and early maturity phase, where new technology comes in, yeah, we are probably on it. So you'll find there's probably, in my experience, there's a big chasm. So there's this one sign of organizations that are probably very far back, and then there's this other organizations that are actually on the newest and the latest. But that is basically, I think, something similar everywhere in the world where I've been, where even as an organization or somebody who is developing some of these solutions, where you first go is in the developing world. So that's why you'll find that it actually just makes sense that most of us in this part of the world are actually facing the newest, the latest, and these are the things that we are exposed to.
Okay, so so that's really good. So so that's really good. So what we're trying to tell you here is that so the results of the polls are out. Everybody feels that they are developing. I would say half of our crowd feels that okay, they are developing, and 28% says that okay, they are maturing. So that's really good. That's a very strong number. A lot of credit to you, the consultants based in Africa. So I would say, yeah, that's a wonderful job. And and I would say there's a lot of improvement for the first 22%. At least they're thinking about it. They know that there are benefits, which is extremely good. Thank you very much for voting. And coming back to the topic, what we want to tell you here is that people who goes digital for the right reason are always going to win businesses and win more within the business sooner or later, right? So yeah, so now let's look at the fact that why these organizations who has got the right intent and who really want to do this, why are they struggling with the digital maturity? So, and you can also see that we have written here integrated digital maturity. So when I say integrated digital maturity, it is nothing but we may have a lot of systems up and running, but what happens is that we tend to buy multiple systems or multiple business applications as and when the business grows. So what happens is, you have one system which is not talking to the other. So which is where you need to make sure that, even if you're buying applications, even if you're buying software, you need to make sure that, you have got the right system which is talking to each other, right? So let's look at the what is available in the market when you look at the digitization. When I say business as universe, I'm meaning here simply what are the options available when you have to buy your business applications. You've got your ERPs, you've got your CRMs, you've got your Microsoft stack, you've got everything up and running, you've got your mobile applications, you've got your analytics, and on top of it, you can also see that, like the innovation bit is adding up. And most importantly, what we are trying to do here is that, we just want to understand when it comes to business as usual, which is your core business operations, and when it comes to management systems, which can be your strategy framework, which can be your GDPR, which can be your risk framework, which can be your ISO systems, you know, we always buy the operational systems, but when it comes to the management system, the governance side of it, we tend to keep them separate, and we tend to keep them the Microsoft Office suite or manual practice. My question to you is, are they separate, or we are building all these management systems and ISOs? This is for the benefit of the business, right? Now, why do we keep them separate, right? So what do you think, Musa? Are they separate or just one business? Please help me understand when it comes to the Africa as a market, and what's your experience?
I think, Farooq, you're posing a very interesting question here. So, if I have my CRM issues or I have my ERP issues, then I'm going to go and invest in that solution. Then I'm going to leave my GRC on the on the desktop application, on the Word and the Excel. So that's a very interesting question that you're posing. So the thing is, I think most of the problems we have is where we're just trying to solve a problem. So we are being reactive. I buy a tool to plug that hole. But now, when we're talking about the entire business, we need to think about the solution. So as you're saying, these things are not, you cannot see them as separate. It's actually the same thing. So what is the view? What is our world view? Rather than me in audit, what is my auditor view? Or me who's sitting in IT, so what is my view of, for example, an antivirus? Or what is my view on securing the network? Or if I'm in finance, what is my view on financial reporting? So we need, as an organization, need to have an entire world view. So we need to see that, okay, what is my understanding of the world? What does my customer need as an organization? And so then you come back inward and say, okay, then as an organization, this is my value chain. So then I need to protect my value chain. And if you think about the GRC, if you think about risk management, it is at every facet of the entire value chain. So if we are supposed to look at our organization like that, then you can actually come and understand that I need to implement a solution. I need to implement something that is protecting the entire value chain. Yeah, so that's for me what we need to be thinking about. But where we are now, I think the polls have suggested, and I agree with them. 22% saying, yeah, they're the early phases, and I agree with them. So having looked at the organizations that we've worked with, mostly we are doing a lot of training. We're seeing a lot of requests coming for training and people wanting knowledge, people wanting to become competent. And then now what we intend to see is that this competence needs to come back and inform organizational objectives and strategy, so that we can now see all this information that we are spreading now, coming into organizations now wanting to now implement some of these holistic solutions.
I actually concur with you, Musa. I think most of us, we are guilty of having different solutions for solving different issues internally. So I think this is quite an eye opener, and also a good conversation for some of us who are sitting from this other side as the users.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say I would like to bring a very important point, which I have seen with different clients across different parts of the world. If we are trying to manage our business as usual, by having the best of the best systems, you buy a Microsoft, you buy an SAP, you buy an Oracle, and if we try to bring in the ISO systems and strategies and internal audit and risk management using MS Office, what happens is that the management systems becomes an administration burden to the core business. And this is why people start hating management systems and business frameworks. You spend so much time and energy and money to bring these systems into the business, and you don't respect them just because they don't talk to each other, and you don't make them talk to each other. Either you don't spend that kind of a money to bring that system, or if you're spending money, make sure that you participate, and that is actually talking to your core business, right? So I would say it has to be infused within your business, and it is not a tough task. So let's go on and see what is more, what do we have within the rest of the session. So let's look at, you know, we spoke about, you know, when we are growing as an organization. Let's say you may be a government organization, you may be a private organization, you may be a large corporation. What happens is that, you know, as and when the business grows, you tend to adopt more systems, and that results in more controls, and that results in more policies and procedures. And how are these platform managed, you know, and how future ready are they? I would like to pose both this question to you, Musab, and before I give it to you, I would like to ask you, you know, when I say future proof, everybody buys a system. Let's say I'll give you an example. You know, one of my client, he called me saying that, okay, I'm going for an ISO 9001 system, and I also have a balanced scorecard. And what do you have? I said, okay, we can discuss about it. Now we started the discussion. You know, the IT manager pops in and says that, okay, we are working on a business continuity management system, and maybe we are looking at the IT governance system after 12 months. Now, the question is, when I say future ready, every organization think beyond a point. How ready are we in terms of these kind of systems, and how are these platforms managed? When I say platforms, you implement an ISO system, you implement a business framework. What technology platforms are they using? You know, so what do you think, Musa? Musa, what do you think about the you know, which solutions, you know, like how are these digital platforms managed? What's your thoughts? Can you hear me?
Okay, so I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, good. So yeah, I like the question that you posed, and really when you say future ready, you know, so what is future ready? So you've talked about organizations implementing, you know, Microsoft systems, implementing SAP, implementing Oracle, and usually in my experience, I have been in an implementation for SAP in one of the organizations, and then as they were looking at the whole modules of what to implement.
Musa, you're lost. We can't hear you.
This is the beauty of technology sometimes. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
some
still have
of these
to go.
technology issues. I think it's just a bit of a connection.
Yeah. I think Musa is going to be joining back, so maybe some technology glitch. So when Musa comes back, we'll
Yeah.
ask the question to him. Yeah. So you know, we would love to hear that when Musa comes back. So he joins back. I'll pass on the question to him. So I'm going to the next slide and see what do we have over there. So you know, so that without wasting much time. So that's another, so this is, yeah, so Musa is back. So Musa, please, what is your
Uh,
experience, yeah, in these questions? Yeah.
Sorry about that. So I was talking about, I hope I had talked, I had said some things because I was talking about my experience when we were doing an implementation for SAP, for example. And then one of the things that came out was that we needed to implement the GRC module for SAP. Now, it is very pricey. And as you can imagine, what the management said was what? That can be shelved. So basically the question was, can this business application, can this ERP still work without this module? I said, yes, it can work without the GRC module. So definitely that was removed. So what Farouk, you're asking is very key because you're going to say that later on, I'm going to implement this management standard, or later on, I'm going to implement this GRC module. But how possible is that once you have already bought in, already gotten into these strategies that you're implementing, and then thinking that in the future, you're probably going to be ready to do a GRC kind of thing, or to start to implement some standards that are going to manage your risk. So yes, definitely. And remember what I said is that when we have a holistic view, rather than trying to plug in a sensitive issue or a particular defect, then we could be able to better understand how it is, how ready are we, or how can we bring in this management systems, and not just the ISO standards, but also any other business standards, or also looking at local regulation and international regulation, as organizations now start to do more and more collaboration. And so you see how we come in as consultants is we are able then to help our clients have that view, rather than having the pains of, I need to do this because my auditor said I have a problem here, or I need to do this because for me to be able to get into a partnership with this other organization, they require that I must submit an ISO 9001 certificate. You see, so rather than going through that process where it's so reactive and you're just going to plug in a hole, have a holistic view of your organization, have a very good understanding of what is your strategy, what you're trying to achieve, and then how will this management system, how will these business standards help you towards achieving that goal? Because once you're able to put in something, a measure that can help you to achieve your strategy, then that's where saying you're future ready, because you're going to be achieving those goals. That's why you're there. That's why the organization is a going concern. You're always trying to achieve your goals. You're always trying to achieve your business objectives. So if we align the work we're doing, if you align the management systems, if you align these business standards to those activities, then this actually makes you succeed, and you'll always be able to be relevant even in the future.
I think I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, Musa. Like I'm going to be shooting a lot of questions to you now because, the focus is Africa, like we're very keen to understand. And I would love, or we would love to have your thoughts as well. Please post your answers to these questions. We feel this is the way, Musa feels this is the way, Sentinel feels this is the way. But we would love to hear from you. Please feel free to answer these questions in the chat box. That would be really useful for us. And when it comes to digitization, Musa, you spoke about SAP and you spoke about management systems. And what happens when these companies decide to go for more systems? So I have seen organizations chasing the $100 million strategy using Excel sheets. So how relevant is that? So what do you see when they buy the system, or what happens when they decide to go for more systems? What do you see in a typical?
So the typical organization actually has been growing and been plugging as they go. So you'll find that they would have one solution that takes care of the customer issues. They'll have another solution that takes care of the finance requirements, another solution that takes care of payroll, another solution that takes care of leave management. So even within one sphere, like for example, just HR, you can find there are even 3 or 4 systems just within HR. So then what happens is, as you're rightfully saying, what happens when they decide to go for more? So usually when I get a call is when they have seen that, wait a minute, we're going to have 10 disparate systems in this organization, and we're trying to go for 2 more. So let's get somebody who can actually help us to look at this situation we are in, and then advise what is the best way now to move forward. What can we do to be better, so that we're now not just trying to plug in and just get more and more and more of the same. So that is the situation we get when somebody actually calls you. But that's not the majority of the organizations. And I'm happy that you're putting it open to the participants on this webinar. I'd really like to hear what everybody thinks, but really the majority of the organizations would not tend to think that way. The majority of the organizations are still very short term, yeah. And as I've said, in this part of the world, we are really in a very fast changing kind of situation. And so most organizations are forced maybe to think short term, or that's just the way people think. But what standards require you to do, standards require you to think long term. Standards require you to plan for longer periods, and that helps you to even plan better. So as you think of the organization, as you plan, we usually have 3-year strategy, 5-year strategies. As we think about those strategies, we also need to be, putting resources against those strategies and thinking about how can we actually implement information systems that will help us to get to that particular point what we want to get. So you're very right, Farouk, to say that common practices, you'll find a myriad of solutions. That's the common thing we see everywhere we go. Let me give you a personal experience. At Sentinel Africa, since we are a young company, so when we started, of course, the first issue we had was we need to send each other emails. Okay, so we went and got a solution for emails. Then the next situation became now, okay, fine. So how can we be ensuring that we are serving our customers in a consistent manner? So we said, let's go get a CRM. So we got a customer relationship management tool. Then, so we ask ourselves, okay, fine. So now we have some customers in place. We can send each other emails. When somebody wants to go on leave, they'll send you an email, but you forget. So let's try and see if we can manage that process. So we get HR management tool. So lo and behold, you're buying tools, not buying solutions. So all of a sudden in that scenario where, yes, I have this, I have that, I have this. So this particular scenario is not only for the bigger organizations or for public sector. As I said, when I started, there's a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of businesses that are being set up even today. And it would be good if there's anybody here in this webinar attending or who is going to watch this video, for you to also consider this as you're starting your organization right from the beginning. You also need to be thinking like this. So this is not just a problem for organizations that have been around for years and years, who already find themselves in a situation where they have many disparate solutions in place. You who's starting your company now, you who started your company in the last 2-3 years, you will find yourself in this solution also if you don't think about it from the beginning. Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
Thank you very much, Musa, for that. Just for those who have joined us maybe a bit late after we have already started, down here we have a Q&A box. Please drop in your questions and we'll be able to address them maybe as we go by later on in the session. Musa, thank you very much for that insight. Maybe something I'd like to ask. Have you been facing quite a resistance from these organizations, from your experience?
Okay, so I wouldn't call it a resistance in as much as it is a lack of awareness that what are you coming to do and how is it going to help my business? So I think that is what I'd say is what happens more. So the resistance is not per se, is not that, what you're trying to tell me I don't need. No, it's actually an issue of how will it help? How does it help me? How does it, help my customer? How does it help my staff? So it's about awareness and really understanding the place and how it plugs in. I don't know, Farouk, what do you think? Because yes, I know we have a predominantly African audience, but it's good to also have perceptions that are all over the world. It's also very good to know that we are really living in a global village, and especially standards usually just bring us together because the one standard is the same everywhere you go. So it would be good to also get some of your insights on this.
I would be very happy to share them because everywhere whenever we talk about business, it's all about collecting information and capturing information, and it's all about data. Data is the new oil or new engine or whatever we call it as. So what do we really do with it? Because we have so much of data collected. What kind of a maturity we have within the business? So answer your question, Musa. We see digital maturity at different levels. Let's say you go to let's say a very developed country in a government organization. You say that okay, they always look at the analysis and reporting. They want to see what happened and why did it happen. They don't even look at what is happening and what is likely to happen, right? So the maturity starts from, if you see the ladder going up over here. So it's very simply, we always know what happened and why did it happen. We forget to see what is happening, and we would love to see what is likely to happen. And also, can we have some recommendations, based on what data we've captured so far? So the maturity varies, and I would say it's completely depending on the leadership. It has nothing to do with the market. It has nothing to do with the maturity, because the global market is there. So you can search and find out anything you want. If you have a strong leadership, you've got the best of the best system, and they will make sure that they will motivate the people, right? So, and the workforce is completely enabled, and they always understand the needs and expectations of their stakeholders, not just the customers, and they make sure that this is done properly. So it's all about the leadership and the intent and the vision of the organization. So I would keep it that way, Musa. Yeah. And one important thing I wanted to ask you again, I'm coming up with another question, like, so
Yeah.
what are the risk of going with an approach of buying multiple applications? So here I'm not talking about just buying an ERP system and a CRM system. Here I'm talking about, you have got a core ERP system to address your operations. And when it comes to your ISO systems, some of them are managed using spreadsheet and Excel sheets. Some of them are managed using a risk management system and an information security management system. So what is the risk of having such a complex environment?
Actually, that is what I wanted to talk about, because the issue also comes in with your, when we talk about your three lines of defense. So you have your first line, second line, and third line. So you'll find that even there, you have completely different systems. So you have your first system on the first line, which will be sitting, for example, on your ERP or on your financial management system or something like that. So that's where you have your fast controls. So it's make a checker, you have passwords, you have two-factor authentication. So you have your first line controls. Then when you come to second line, now that's where things start becoming complicated. So you probably have your Excel spreadsheet here, or you probably invested in one tool which you found somewhere on the internet that can help you to do ISO management, but you found that at the end of the day, it was just a document management system. So you have those, and we know them. And then at the third line, you have something to help you to do audits. So you find that even as you're trying to implement your three lines of defense, you're putting in disparate systems already. So then you will also not be able to have a proper picture of what is going on in the organization throughout the entire business. So this is actually one of the risks, and I'd say that this is one of the solutions that people should be thinking about. That how can I implement a solution that will help me to protect or look at my risk from the shop floor level, yeah, that is at the operational level. Then at the second level or second line is where people are more, predictive. We're able to do a risk assessment. We're able to forecast. We're able to see, are these issues going to face us? If this thing was to happen, what would the impact be? What would the likelihood be? So a system like that, and then again, having the same system be able to be used to now do the third line, where you're now coming back and saying, let me do my audit tests, okay? Let me carry out my audit. Let me find out what actually happened, because that is the only way you can actually make use of all this data, because as Farid, you've rightfully said, the issue is data. So how are we then supposed to actually make use of this data if it's sitting in totally different systems? So you gain a lot. I'd say if you were to do the Pareto analysis, what is the 20% you can do to gain 80%, right? So if you can actually get that system, that will be the 20%, and then it will give you 80% of the benefits.
I agree with you, Musa, and like it's completely accurate. And I want to again say that the amount of time every organization spending for this manual efforts are generally considered as 45 to 60%. So if you take your workforce doing your operational work, You can say that 60% of the salary is given for manual operations, which is not the actual job, right? So you can always keep that kind of a money as an investment for your technology projects. Okay, Musa, another interesting question, a quick one. What happens when you come out of a consulting project? Is your client completely capable, or they feel handicapped?
So okay, the reality is this: when we come out of a consultancy, and especially when we have implemented a management system, like for example an ISO management system, organizations will then go for certification, and then you tend to be awarded the certificate, so you have your ISO certificate. But then once we leave the organization, we have what I call the rubber band effect, right? So you stretch the rubber band, and then we leave, and then the pressure is, once the pressure is released, the rubber band goes back. So people tend to go back to their their business as usual. They tend to go back to those processes which were actually improved upon. Because remember, what you're trying to do is you're trying to implement a culture change. So for you to implement a culture change, that pressure point you have to actually press it. And then there's always resistance. Now, because of this resistance, we need to implement this culture change in a way that can be palatable to people, in a way that it makes it exciting to people, in a way that they can actually adopt it as painlessly as possible. But using Word documents, using Excel spreadsheets, unfortunately, that is painful. That is very painful, and people will stop doing it immediately you walk out the door.
Yeah, I would say one of the reasons, because I've been working with a lot of consulting projects as well as technology projects together. So one of the reasons for such a scenario is we don't have the right implementation tools. You can actually design the best of the best structure. You may be the best consultant to design a structure, right from their organizational structure, business processes, internal controls, roles and responsibilities, authorities, monitoring systems. But what happens is that, using what they're implementing it cannot be spreadsheets, because it is rework, redundancy, a lot of time, duplication. So I've been asking you and giving you a lot of tough questions. Now tell me, what kind of a wish list, like if somebody comes and tells you there is no budget, there is nothing, like you can get all what you want today, what would be your wish list, leaving your core business? We all know that the core business has got the ERPs to manage. So you have a beautiful ERP, and what would be your wish list to manage the rest of your business?
I would actually like to get the participants to really answer this question. I would really be happy to hear to hear from them. Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. You're very right. Again, depends on the type of organization that we're working with, because different organizations do different things. And so, but at the end of the day, it's, as I said, if an organization is able to have a system which will enable them to be able to see their risks from the point of the first line all the way to the third line, then that's something that I would really, really want for my clients. If there's a way in which they can adopt a system that will make these ISO standards that we're helping them to implement be very painless for them. And so it's something that is interesting for them to do. Now I'm talking about things that, because we're talking about digitization, remember, so we're talking about how possible is it for me to be able to get notifications on my phone? How possible is it for me to be able to just have visual representations of risk? For example, do I have graphs? Do I have pie charts? It's something that I can click a button, then I can see that based on this data, I would have to concentrate a bit more in this area. In my next audit plan, I probably need to concentrate in the procurement area, because we're seeing that that's a wet zone for issues such as fraud risk. How can I put in some different tests, because the last audit test that I did wasn't as good, because we ended up having more risks in that area. But our audit showed that it didn't have any issues, you see. But my risk assessment showed me it had issues, and vice versa. My risk assessment showed me there are no issues in this area, but my audit came and showed me that there are so many process gaps in that area. So you can see that then your second line needs to be boosted up, while your third line, and those kind of things, that is really what I would really wish for any of my clients, be they in financial services, public sector, if they're in education or the health services or anything like that?
I would say that, we all are socially responsible, and we've been doing business in different countries, and now we are exploring Africa as a team. Considering the social responsibility, what if we offer such a system to all your clients and all the entire market in Africa, where we would say that we've got a system which would help you to manage your governance, risk, and compliance. We would offer a system which would manage your entire business process portfolio and internal controls. We would manage a system which can beautifully manage your business plans in terms of your strategy, your objectives, your goals, your execution, your initiatives. And finally, we would have something, to convert your three lines of defense in the form of a very strong internal audit with a very powerful knowledge hub, right? Now, as part of this engagement, we would like to offer this, as a proof of concept or as a demo to everyone who would love to explore this, who would love to explore this as a practice. And now the reason I'm telling this to you, because it eliminates isolation. It's one centralized system. It has got a best of the best business libraries. It saves a lot of time. One of our clients is actually saving $15 million a year, by implementing such a system. And it is very interactive. It has alerts, reminders, and notifications. It has got some very brilliant modules, which I've already explained. So after this, we're going to share this presentation as well with you. So I'm not reading through each of them. And this is a beautiful framework, which will help you to manage your entire business. Plus, it will manage your information security and business continuity as well, right? And it is completely future-proof. It has got the best of the dashboards and analysis and reporting. It covers the GRC, it covers internal audit, and it covers, the entire business as an organization. Plus, it can be integrated with your core business system as well, right? Now, the question is that, the tool is called isorobot, right? Now, if we offer a POC, or, you offer a complimentary POC or a demo, would you like to go with it? Can we post this question? We would love to hear from the participants. Musa, what do you think? Your people would be keen to look at this?
Yeah.
I'd like to see, but definitely for me, as I've said, it solves a lot of problems. I would really want to see what the rest of the participants think. But definitely from my experience, from interacting with many of our clients, it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah. So are we posting
I think this should be,
do we have a question here?
yes. It should be one of the polls. We shall be having one of the polls. Maybe the participants will be able to express if they'll want to have this, maybe to have a presentation or a POC. As well, maybe something else I'd like also to see from where I sit is that slide that you had on the wish list for clients to addressing their struggles. That is also something else maybe I'd like to see, so that from where we sit, we can be able to really understand where people really struggling and how best can we be able to help them. Yeah, so far we have a question. Maybe I can shoot it and we respond to it as we proceed. So we have a question from Vidianto. So in the current digital era and many management systems which are demanded by our customers, is it relevant audit or assessment done by virtual or online form questionnaires? Thank you. So this is Vidianto from Qatar.
Musa, would you like to take it up, or you want me to answer it? So I think I know Vidianto. Yeah. So yeah. So I would say everything is going digital. So if the information can be captured as required, and if you have got the access to the right kind of information, it can be done in any ways. It doesn't have to be physical all the time. It can be done in any ways. That is exactly what we're promoting. If you look at the amount of time and energy saved, because of the less travelings we have done, the amount of pollutions, the kind of pollutions what we used to have, and how it's been reduced. So it is always the case of not being there every time. So as long as we have got the access to the right information at the right time, as we always say that the evidence has to be available at the time of audit. It has to be verifiable as well. So with the if that's the case, you can always get on with it, right? So I don't know if the team is posting the question. I don't know, Varghese, if the team is posting the question. I'm very keen to see the last question posed. So probably after the end of the session, we can send them this if we're not doing it. And yeah, so I would
Maybe
say,
one more thing. Maybe
yeah,
one more thing, Farooq, I can say just to address the question that was asked
yeah,
about whether the audit can be done. That is something that people are asking a lot. So that's a
yeah,
very relevant question. Most of our clients right now who are thinking about going towards certification are actually thinking about that. So you can actually respond to the poll as I make my remarks. So the thing about doing the audits, an audit basically is a verification or that you're doing what you said you do. So what I assess as an auditor is I will ask you the questions, what do you do and how do you do it? So you will tell me that this is my process and this is how I carry out my process. So then I'll ask you, so then show me evidence that you have done what you say you do. So this evidence can be recorded in whichever form, but as long as I'm able to verify that this evidence is actually showing me that it has come from the process, then that is an audit. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be physically there. An audit is actually about verifying that you are doing what you're saying you do or what you're saying you should be doing. So yes, in the world where we are right now, we are trying to, everybody's talking about the new normal, the new normal. Audits have tended to be physical things where I have to do a physical interview, where I have to, physically be there and see you in the face and actually tell if you're actually doing it or not. But as we move on, if you have a solution such as isorobot, you should be able to see as an auditor, I can give you access to the system and you can log in as an auditor and you should be able to see just based on the records and based on the timelines and the things that have been put in the system, how consistently this organization has been implementing or staying true to these processes that they say that they are abiding by. So it's actually very possible, and it actually was one of the reasons why I myself would advocate for an organization to go towards implementing a system such as isorobot.
yeah. So we would love to have more questions here. So, so we are waiting for the poll results as well, because it's very interesting and exciting. So 48% says that, we would love to have a demo. I think Hilda and Musa would be happy to, take those demo requests and do that. And I could see 33% would love to see a proof of concept. The reason why we are asking you to do the proof of concept, it is because it's very easy to show and say everything is beautiful during a demo, everything is green during a demo. Yes, that is possible, but we are very confident about the capabilities what we have, which is why we are actually strongly forcing you to go for a proof of concept. And please, the team would be in touch with you to take the request further. And people who says not now, completely respect your decisions. It is, you can always think of these things whenever you think these are relevant, make sense for your business. You can always look into them. So, before we wind up, if we have more questions, and I'll just finish the last slide and say that, okay, whenever we are adopting any technology, please remember the fact that if it is not making sense for your business, please don't go for it. Musa buys an SAP just to beat Musa as an organization. I don't need to go for an SAP, right? If it is not making sense for my business, and if it is not in line with my organizational objectives, if it is not in line with my culture and capability of my organization, I won't go for it. Please, like that would be my thought and advice for you as well. Musa, what would you like to say?
I think for me, just to wind up is, again, I'd like to thank everybody for making time. to come for this webinar. It has been very, very exciting. Farouk, thank you also for being here. And I think for me, it's just to understand, first of all, that there is a solution. You see, where we start is to understand that the help is there. That is usually where people get stuck at, where we have problems, but we don't know where to start to get a solution. So the first starting point is that there's a solution. There's a solution which exists for you. And then the second thing is that for you to take it to the next level, you can reach out to us. You can have further conversations around any kind of questions which you have, and we are ready for you. And then for you to just know that this is not an issue that you will implement. It's not something that you come and switch on like this, and then it works for you. So we are not replacing the human effort. Okay, we are supplementing it. We are complementing it. So we are not replacing staff, for example. So we're not saying that we're going to bring this tool and then everybody's going to lose their jobs. No, that's not what we're doing. We're saying that we're going to make work more consistent. We're going to improve your decision making because now you have access to data, you have access to reports, you have access to information. So we are helping you to improve your decision making. And also at the same time, we're helping you to learn. Like Faruka said, there's a knowledge management system here. So we're helping you to learn. So you'll actually be able to collect all your experiences, and you can actually be able to call back on your experiences and say, hey, but this happened last year. So why is it happening again? So is that a decision we need to make? Or is there something we need to do? So those kind of things are the things that we're talking about. And this is really why we're excited to position this solution to everybody here today.
Okay, so we have one more question from Anonymous. So how many ISO standards can be automated using isorobot? So maybe Farouk, you can take this question.
Yeah, I would say as many as you want, but just to give you a practical answer to what you have answered, one of our biggest customers, a utility company, they are currently managing around 40 ISO standards, 40 ISO standards at one go, and they also have 10 or 15 regulatory frameworks, and they have a very strong strategy, and their internal audit is managed using the system. Just to answer the question specifically, this 40 ISO standards are managed within isorobot, but if you have 60 or 70, we can still manage it because it is not made for ISO standards. It is actually made for a business requirement or a business structure. So it has got the best practices of your business excellence tools. It has got the best practices of the ISO systems. It has got the best practices of the pre-DCA, the Plan, Do, Check, Act. So this is where we say that, okay, it can manage any number of legal and regulatory frameworks, ISO standards, internal audit frameworks, strategy framework, and GRC framework. So, the question is, it can be as many as possible, but our biggest client is having around 40 of them, in one go. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Let's see if there's no more question. So maybe we can have.
There is one more question there. Yeah. So from, yeah.
Yeah, yes. How is isorobot designed to sort the region challenges? What approach did you had when approaching the Kenyan market? So maybe Musa, you can take this question.
Okay, so when we look at the solution, so isorobot is a solution, and I've said it doesn't replace the human effort. So we would still need to do the implementation. So without isorobot, what we're doing is we are coming in and we are setting up this risk management frameworks or these management standards using Excel and Word. But now with isorobot, we are still coming in, so that doesn't disappear. We're still coming in. We still need to do a consultancy project, but now when we go out, we are leaving you with a solution in place that will keep working for you. So that's the difference. So we'll still, to make it fit, not even the Kenyan context, to fit your organizational context, we will be the ones to do that as your consultants to make sure that this solution actually fits into your particular organization's context.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any more question from the team. Yeah, there's
There is a
one more
question.
question.
Yeah, there is one more question,
Yes,
Hilda. It says,
yes,
yeah, I can take this because it is asking, is isorobot compatible with Navision? I believe it is a Microsoft solution, Navision.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it is, so that is exactly what I was telling you. It can be integrated with any any third party applications, any ERP systems, because we have got a very strong API stack. So it is very very intelligent and easy to integrate any other solutions as well. So so that's the answer for that question. Integration is very much possible because of technology is growing. There are multiple methods of doing it, and it can be done very much. Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any more questions. So thank you very much for everyone who has joined us in this session. So we shall be sharing the presentation later on with the whole entire team. I believe you dropped your email addresses and we shall be able to send you the links to the presentation. So maybe my key takeout will be is I think Africa as a region, we are still growing when it comes to this digital maturity, and I think we are headed on the right path. So let us strive to ensure that we're doing the right thing. So Sentinel Africa is here to help you. We shall drop our contacts somewhere, and then you'll be able to reach out to us just anytime whenever you have an issue, you need maybe someone to give you advisory. We are always here to help you out. So I can see there's one more question. So can you share, can you please share some more information regarding isorobot? So Mumba will be able to reach out to you and give you all the relevant information. Okay. All right, so I think, I don't know if there's anything else from the panelists, something you'd like to comment before we call it off?
I would say thank you very much for being such a brilliant audience, to all the audience, and thank you very much for Hilda and Varghese and Jitin, everyone in the team, and special thanks to Musa to bring on all those insights and experience. I know I loved your experience of buying the email system and going to the next one. So we can listen to more of them, and a very patient audience. Even if we have exceeded the time actually. Thank you very much for being very patient. And that's it, Musa. So final word from you, then we'll call it off. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Farouk, you said it. I cannot thank everybody more than that. Yeah, again, maybe just for the team that organized this, I know there's a lot of work that went into making this a success. So Hilda, Safargis, really, you guys, thank you very much for this. And then also for our participants, we would not be here without you guys. And I really hope that you have gotten something of value. And we would really appreciate some feedback from yourselves to tell us how we can do this better. If there's anything that you wanted to hear that you didn't hear, reach out to me. I'll be able to share my contacts. Reach out to Farouk. He will give you his contacts so that we can actually engage more, because we help each other. And that's the beauty about Africa. We all help each other. We help one another. So thank you very much again. So that's all from me.
So
Okay.
thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.